Hello everyone, my name is Ethan, and welcome to another episode of Model Trainz Reviews. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at another model from the Trainz website, and possibly one of my favorite steam locomotives of all time, Frisco 1522. The 1522 was built by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in 1926 and was one of 30 482 mountain-type engines the Frisco used to haul passenger trains over the hilly Ozark main lines. Originally built as a coal burner, the engine was converted to oil sometime in the 30s. The 1522 carries over 56,800 pounds of tractive effort and a boiler pressure of nearly 210 pounds. With 69.5-inch driving wheels and a booster engine, this engine can run up to top speed at 90 miles per hour. After many years of faithful service, the 1522 was retired in 1951. In 1959, the engine was donated to the National Museum of Transport in Kirkwood, Missouri for static display. In 1985, volunteers of the St. Louis Steam Train Association began restoration of the engine. After 3 years of hard work, the 1522 began her second career as an excursion engine in 1988. Over the next 14 years, the 1522 would pull excursions on the Wisconsin Central, BNSF, and the Norfolk Southern for the NS Steam program. She would appear at Railroad Days festivals in Topeka, Kansas and Galesburg, Illinois, have a cameo appearance in Truman, and would attend 3 NRHS conventions in St. Louis and Atlanta, Georgia. She would also doublehead with Union Pacific 844 in 1990 and NW 611 in 1994. In 2001, the 1522 was selected to pull the BNSF Employee Appreciation Special and ran a 4,000-mile trip through Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas. This would not only be 1522's longest excursion trip, but sadly one of her final runs. In 2002, rising insurance costs and limited access to the main line, coinciding with an expensive required boiler inspection, forced the SLSTA to remove 1522 from excursion service and place it back into retirement. After a pair of farewell excursions on September 28th and 29th, 2002, the 1522 was put back on display at the National Museum of Transport in Kirkwood, Missouri. Although it's possible to return 1522 to service, the cost of repairs, reacquiring the support cars, and a place where the engine can run is not feasible at the moment. But that doesn't stop us from dreaming. Let's hope the 1522 can return to steam within the not-too-distant future. Trainz released this model pack on November 13th, 2015, and runs from Trainz 2009 to Trainz 22. It comes with 1522 and its support cars, and the 1522 in its 1940s-50s appearance. These engines have a high amount of detail. They were modeled from blueprint specs and photographic textures, and feature a 3-part echo whistle, animated bell and cord, animated firebox, reverse headlight, and secondary blowdown. Unlike the 290, the T54s can be renumbered to any number of your choice. Also unlike the 290, the cab interior is the old TRS-04 cab interior. On Trainz A New Era, the cab is seen through when switching various angles, which sometimes happens to some of the older models. But rest assured, you can have various angles problem-free in Trainz 19 and Trainz 22. I could show you what I mean, as I have Trainz 19, but the game proved too much for my storage and RAM, so I'll have to wait until I upgrade my hard drive. One interesting thing I should mention is that there is a photo of the real cab interior of the 1522 shown from the outside. Very cool, don't you think? Now let's talk about the engines themselves, starting with the Revenue Freight appearance. Now, this was not how 1522 looked when first delivered in 1926. Photos from the early years can prove that. But when transferred to freight service, the 1522 was modified with a standard number plate instead of the traditional Frisco number plates, and a doghouse on the tender to house the brakemen. This is how the engine looked during her final revenue years, between Fort Scott, Kansas and Afton, Oklahoma. Not my favorite, but still looks interesting. Now into the excursion consist itself. 1522 always looked stunning like this. The engine looks like it did when it was in revenue service and during the early 1990s. The whistle sounds like how it did during the 90s as well. I found it interesting that in the first scene of the Candle Trainz promo, the whistle sounded like it did from 1995 to 2002. The Southern's PS4 whistle sounds similar to that. It would be cool if there were a whistle pack to accompany this set in the future. What do you think? The engine sounds that come from the 1522 are very loud. I know that the 1522 was best known as the loudest steam locomotive in the world due to its loud exhaust, but from 1 to 20 miles per hour, the chuffing sounds are deafening and even drown out the bell and the whistle. I have to turn down the volume when wearing headphones. Be careful, headphone users. I guess that's what makes this engine awesome. The auxiliary tender, 1522A, looks awesome. In real life, this former Illinois Central tender was acquired in 1990 by the SLSTA and was restored for service just in time for the 1990 NRHS convention. Today, it's located at the Age of Steam Roundhouse in Sugar Creek, Ohio, and still has its fret paintwork. Though it's been used behind other steam engines, in my opinion, its rightful place goes behind 1522. In reference to the pack, since this was only used in excursion service, it would be hard to match it when behind the other model in the pack. Unfortunately, this does not have any tender outside views, but that doesn't detract from the model. The passenger cars in this pack were the exact crew cars that the 1522 used in excursion service. Black Gold, Firefly, and Bluebonnet were from the National Museum of Transport's collection, while the Shoto Club was used by Rail Cruise America and later bought by an SLSTA member. Currently, the Shoto Club is stated to be in storage in Madison, Illinois, while Black Gold, Firefly, and Bluebonnet were sold to the Friends of the 261, where 2 out of 3 cars are in active service. Unfortunately, these cars do not have any interior views, but Bluebonnet has some views from the vestibule. This gives you the feeling that you're riding on the train. That's a very cool feature. One car that I'd wish the pack came with is the Frisco Cimarron River. I know it's a different livery and doesn't match, but come on, it's a Frisco car and was seen behind 1522 on many different occasions. I made a custom reskin myself, but it does need some more details, like the car name. I can't change the text size, boys. Overall, the excursion looks stunning, and some of the cars would look great on different excursion trains. The price for this pack is $7.50, with an ongoing sale price of $6. I believe it's worth it. Though not a big mega pack like the 290 pack, who wouldn't want 1522 for their collection? In conclusion, the Frisco T54 set is one to have in everyone's collection. For fans of 1522, you'll enjoy this for years to come. Though it may be a long time before we see the 1522 out on the road again, we can still use Trainz to recreate or make new excursion trips for all to enjoy. With the amount of detail and assets and realism put into these models, I give this a 9 out of 10. If you want to buy this pack for yourself, visit K&L Trainz online at www.kltrainz.com. Link will be posted in the description. Thank you so much for watching this video of 1522. If you liked it, please share this with other people. If you have any suggestions of what model I should review next, please leave your ideas in the comments and I will try my best to include them in a future video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.